What's good, man? Hope everything is well with you guys. Let's get this. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend of boxing. I got to tell you that I probably didn't very much, but we'll review what happened, man, and chop it up. Just talk about whatever boxing subjects you guys want to talk about. My man Brazy Too Deep said, "What's good for now? What's going on, man? I'm just chilling, man. It was a little bit light weekend, man. You know, boxing ain't exactly giving us great fights right now. So I checked out the Oscar Valdez fight. I didn't check out the Evander Holyfield fight in that pay-per-view because I'm sorry, man. I'm just, my love for boxing only goes so far, man. You know what I mean? But I did catch it on the stuff that came out this morning, man. Saw what went on, and I'm just telling you, man, boxing's becoming, I hate to agree with something that Chris Mannix wrote, but it's getting harder and harder to take serious, man. That's some real garbage, man. You know what I'm saying? Brazy Too Deep. What's going on, man? Adrian Vent in the building. What's going on? Dwayne Jones. What's going on? Blessings to Atlanta as well. Ghost says, salute for nine. Sad to see Evander go out that way. Yeah, it is sad to see, man. Dude, I saw him on the pads. I was like, he looks like he's 60 years old, But that was the most highly anticipated fight. According to the way that they marketed it, it was the most highly anticipated heavyweight fight of the year. I couldn't believe that they actually had the nerve. First of all, what's Belfort, like a former MMA fighter or something like that? I mean, dude, honestly, man, it's people saying that celebrity stuff's not hurting boxing. I don't buy it anymore, man. I don't buy it, man. These are featured events, man. And people are running around acting like this is some serious stuff. It was supposed to be Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. It's not good, man. It's not a good look. All this celebrity stuff is not a good look for boxing. It's like, I think it's a penny, like a penny, you say penny wise, pound short. It's good, quick money. But in the long haul, dude, it's bad for boxing, man, because that's just a joke, man. To have Evander Holyfield out there getting beaten up by somebody, man, in the first round, what does that say? I mean, honestly, how does that push boxing forward at all? It may put some money in some promoters' pocket for the night, but other than that, man, it doesn't do anybody any good, man. And that thing with Oscar Valdez, I mean, that's the real thing I wanted to get on. I made sure I watched that fight because I wanted to see what a steroid user looked like. And it's just what I thought it was, man. I'm telling you, man, if he was not on juice, he would have lost that fight because at a certain point in time, he would have got tired. If you go back and look at that fight with Oscar Valdez, the main difference between Oscar Valdez and Conceição was that Oscar Valdez never got tired. And even Eddie Reynoso said it in the middle of he said it like after the fourth round. He's like, don't worry, relax. He's going to get tired and you're not. He's going to get tired. You're not going to get tired. So when he gets tired, you're going to be able to step up the pace and continue to go. And then he's going to start, having to use crazy footwork, trying to get himself a little air, a little rest. And for me, that's the only difference in that fight, man. The difference between Oscar Valdez having a belt and Oscar Valdez not having a belt was that he was on steroids, that he was on PEDs, and it showed in his performance. And I don't care what anybody says, man. My man MK, I'm gonna say my man MK Productions. Salute for nine, the OG. Evander looks in good shape for 58, but damn, he damn near knocked himself out when he missed that left hook. Man fell in between the ropes. Yeah, I mean, dude, when you old like that, it's just not there anymore. You can look in shape. As in that he had low body fat, but he didn't look like Evander Holyfield used to look like when it was Evander Holyfield. And Evander never really had the fastest hands in the world, but it's just not good, man. It's not a good look. And my man Ghost Bomb Squad said at this point, boxing is saying F all the rules. We do not care. Yeah, pretty much. They're doing anything, man. Those guys, the promoters are just out there doing anything, man. Maybe they're just, and they're not even real. That's not real, man. And there's so many good young fighters, man. I was listening to a conversation that was taking place between Shakur Stevenson. What's the name of the young fighter that was Olympic silver medal? Keyshawn Davis, the silver medalist Keyshawn Davis, and Chris Colbert. And I was like, man, they really have three incredible fighters Well, I can't say Keyshawn Davis. I got to see him a little bit more. I did see him against that Cuban in the finals of the Olympics in the gold medal round. And I'm gonna tell you, that Cuban can fight, man. That dude's footwork is bananas. That footwork was, he's clowning him with that footwork. Man, it was off the chain. What's going on, Richard Hill? How you feeling this morning? But you know, just to know that those guys are not going to be featured. Those are not the featured fighters. Those young cats that can really, really throw are not the ones that are getting put out there in the front. I mean, Oscar, yeah, man, it's just, I don't know how many times I can say it's bad, man. He said a former known drug cheat in the MMA, and he's 20 years younger than Evander, who is 60. He looked like he used steroids on in the ring. I didn't want to call him that. I mean, but obviously, man, like, come on, these dudes are obviously juicing, man. I wouldn't say that Evander is above putting something in himself either, but you know, what does that prove? You know, what does that prove to anybody? It's just, and hey man, I'm sorry, man. I'm putting this on Floyd, man. Floyd Mayweather led the way on this stuff, man, and is fully participating. I'm going to tell you, you're going to mess around and see Floyd Mayweather get hurt. And when Floyd Mayweather is going to gamble is going to roll that dice against the wrong dude, man. He's somebody that's addicted to being inside that ring, and I'm telling you, that's going to catch up to Floyd Mayweather Jr., man. He said, Crush List, I did not watch the Evander fight. Salute to all. Yeah, I didn't pay for it. I saw what happened at the end. It's just not a real fight, man. Man, we got somebody joined as a member in the channel, man. That's what's up. My man, Chick, much love, and hey, thank you for joining the channel, man. Howard Ellis says, Fannon, salute. Holyfield says he still wants Tyson. Thoughts? Let him have him. That's a fair fight. You know what I'm saying? That's a fair fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're going to be two old men fighting in an exhibition, you know, make it, that's cool. But a pay-per-view fight, I mean, I'm not paying for that. I'm sorry, dude. I'm not paying for it. I'm not covering it. It's just too much. You know what I'm saying? It's just too garbagey. I can only stoop so low. And honestly, man, the curiosity is gone, you know, and the curiosity, the quirkiness of it is gone for me. So, you know, somebody's going to mess around and get hurt up in there though. You know what I mean? Howard Lewis to salute. Oh yeah. And if he wants to fight him, let him fight him. What's going on, Joe Biden's burner? If he wants to fight him, let him fight him, you know, but I don't know what that does. What does that actually do? It's a wild, wild west in boxing now, man. Like, it's the wild, wild west. Any old kind of garbage can be thrown out there, man. And they're throwing any and every piece of crap that they can possibly throw into a boxing ring. They're throwing it into the boxing ring. They're working hard not to make good fights and to make crap, because that's just, for real, man. And I was disgusted on the ESPN card. Just disgusted. Byron Swift said, hey, good brother Fannon, good morning. I see it the same as you do. I couldn't watch any of the fights this weekend. Too much negative crap going on. I used to hold Bud Crawford way up there, not there so much. Now not so much. Yeah, I can appreciate it, but he's not. I mean, he's fighting real fights. You know what I mean? He's fighting real fights. This stuff that's going on right now is just, it's just stuff to take money out your pocket. And I'm not participating. I'm sorry, man. Like, I used to buy any and everything. I'm not participating, man. I'm not buying Evander Holyfield versus Belfort, on a pay-per-view. I'm not buying Jake Paul. I'm not buying Jake Paul's pay-per-views. And I'm not paying a red cent for DAZN, because the boxing is just bad. It's just bad boxing. It's not a good product. It's just terrible. If you look at the product, it's a terrible product. It's nothing that the people should be proud of. It's nothing like where you're going to get some scintillating, battle for the ages, or you're going to get to know who the best fighter is, and Evander Holyfield was done 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Done as, man. H-Town 713 said, salute Fannon, just supporting. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, man, supporting in that super chat. It does mean a lot, and thank you to everybody that supports in the super chat, man. You think Holyfield can still beat Tyson? Not unless he's juicing. You know what I'm saying? Not unless he's juicing. I mean, but it'd be a good fight. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a sad situation for me personally, because I'm sitting here thinking I'm like actually familiar with most of who the good boxers are and the good, really good, talented fighters are. And we're not getting to see, I mean, we just don't get to see any of it. And when you fill up dates with garbage, that's one less opportunity to see a good fight, a real fight that is a good fight where, you know, you can see the next Evander Holyfield. You know, how about Jared Anderson is somebody I would rather see fight, because at least he's somebody that, you know, can become something. But Evander Holyfield, if you guys paid for that man, you know, hey, more power to you, but it just can't happen. My man Richard Hill said Father Time is undefeated. Absolutely, he's undefeated. Everybody's gonna get old, man. He said, "Oh, Silva versus Tito was a good fight. Yeah, didn't it last around? So Anderson Silva knocked him out, didn't he? Holyfield looked worse than Jake Paul in there. I never thought I'd say that. Holyfield is beyond a shot fighter. Yeah, man, he's 60. He's 60. He's almost 60 years old. Evander Holyfield is almost 60 years old. That is what we are now paying for and watching in boxing, because everybody's like, it's about the business. It's the business of boxing. And Evander Holyfield had a big name, so you could sell that big name. It's the business of boxing. And I'm sure he said he got $500,000 for that fight. Hey, man, I'm sure $500,000, you know, is looking pretty in his, you know, is going to look pretty in his bank account, though. He said 50 Cent really looked uncomfortable talking to him at the end. Yeah, I mean, he should be, man. He said Holyfield is turning 59 next month on the 19th. Yeah, see, you got 60-year-olds over there fighting, man. And Bold T said Holyfield showed exactly what I expected. I don't know how you could expect anything different from a guy that is 60 years old out there doing something he shouldn't do. And the boxing media was up and roar. You know, hey, I will give them boxing media this on this. They were like, what is this about? You know, at least there was uniform condemnation of that. But it's not going to be enough until something, you know, I'm telling you, it's coming apart at the hinges, man. We can't get, there's how many fights can't you get between good fighters, and for us to sit around and turn around and pay for that? I'll say it 100 times, man. I feel like I'm in rinse and repeat with this. The last 2 months of boxing has been terrible, man. Some of the worst, it's seriously some of the worst I've seen. Like, seriously, it's like, I don't know how much worse it can get. But there you go. It's something like D-Style Boxing said that a couple years, man. Shout out to D-Style Boxing. He said it a couple years ago. He was like, look, man, don't tell me that boxing can't get worse, because every time you turn around, boxing gets worse than you just thought it got. And that's what it is, man. It's gotten worse than I thought it would get. And so a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows what you're going to have going? You're going to have. My hat goes off to the guys that are sitting there and not getting into it, like Tito Trinidad, because you know they want to get Trinidad, like they want to get a Tito Trinidad versus Oscar De La Hoya third fight. John Mayfield said, Fannon, I didn't know boxing had a senior division. Mayweather-Pacquiao coming in 2035. Oh, that's inevitable. Mayweather-Pacquiao is inevitable, man. Too much money in it. That's the sucker move that Floyd Mayweather got up his sleeve. Is the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather Jr. rematch. That'll probably and they'll do it right when they're announcing a real fight. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, between the steroids and the stupid and the ridiculous fights this weekend, it was like, you know, I did watch the Oscar Val. What's going on, Southern T Boxing? I'm chilling, man. Just, you know, doing it. Oh, said, Fannon, explain how PEDs came in handy, please. My brother, I didn't watch the fight. Oh, he would have lost that fight if he had ever gotten tired. The difference between Conceição and Oscar Valdez, the difference between the two of them was that Oscar Valdez never got tired. And that Oscar Valdez could push through the whole fight and never got tired. Oscar Valdez was getting pieced up for the first 4 rounds, dude. Pieced up. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you know, they're like, well, why did Conceição stop, you know, start moving around? And because he got tired. He was piecing him up for 4 straight rounds, and the first 4 rounds weren't even a close fight. Between the skills of the boxer, Conceição is a much more skilled fighter than Oscar Valdez is. Oscar Valdez is a left hook and steroids. And I don't care what anybody says. He's got a good left hook and he's on steroids. Or he's on PEDs. I'm sorry, I'm dating myself when I say, because I got to distinguish between the PED, the steroid, which is a PED, and the stimulants or whatever it does that allows him to fight for 12 straight rounds and never get tired. That was the difference. He never got tired. Conceição fought better he fought like he got tired. You could see him winding. You could see him holding his arms lower, everything. You know what happens? But that's what happens when you're fighting a guy on juice. They get to pressure you for 12. They pressure you for 12 straight rounds. And at a certain point in time, if you ain't on it too, you're going to get tired, or you're not really masterful at, punching and beating them up without moving too much. But Conceição needed to use his legs too much to stay out of the way. And that's what I thought, because we knew he was on steroids. We knew he's on PEDs, right? So he's on PEDs and you watch the fight. And that's the only difference was his endurance. If Oscar Valdez, and Andre Ward said it too. He's like, you got to be able to fight 12 rounds and not lose your focus. Well, people lose their focus when they get tired. And when you get tired, you start making mistakes and all that. But if the other guy's tired too, you see two fighters going through those ebbs and flows. There was nothing but ebb. There was nothing but ebb for Oscar Valdez. That whole, I'm telling you, it's what he's a left hook and steroids. That's it. That's all Oscar Valdez is. Left hook and PEDs. And he doesn't get tired. He can take a lot of abuse. His face is getting all busted up. He's getting busted up to the body. He's getting busted up to the face, and he never misses a beat. And now you could, if you didn't know he was on PEDs, just say, yeah, that's what it is, or, Conceição needs to get in better shape. But no, man, he's in there against a guy that has a motor that's never going to turn off. Same thing for Canelo Alvarez. His motor's not going to turn off. That's Manny Pacquiao used to be able to do. Manny Pacquiao used to have an engine that he never stopped. Never stopped. When anybody else that's not on that has got to take a break. They got to bide their time. It's a 12. That's a long time, man. You know what I mean? That's a long time to be throwing punches. But you know what I mean? I like that message, Brian. As he said, like button, subscribe is welcome, chat. Showing love doesn't cost a thing. Absolutely, man. Hit the like button too, man. It'd be greatly appreciated. We got 72 likes in the building. Come on, we got 254 people in the building. Hit the likes, man. Strange J said Conceição was more skilled IQ fighter. He looked like the champion, and Valdez looked like the challenger. He did. He looked like a guy that if he didn't, he just walked forward, getting punched, and waited for him to start breaking down. And he started breaking down. But that's what we want. That's nobody said anything about it during the telecast. They said something about the steroids before the telecast, but didn't PEDs. But then when the actual fight started happening, they didn't pay any attention to it. It's like oh, Conceição needed to do something different. Man, yeah, Conceição needed to get on. He needed to get on Phentermine or whatever that stuff that Oscar Valdez was on, so that he could have a level playing field. Period. But that's not going to happen, man. People, and as far as I'm concerned, they turned a blind eye on that after the fight, and and it just wound up that it was a big crowd though. It was a big crowd in Tucson, Arizona. It was his hometown, and they didn't want to cancel the fight. But let's just hope that eventually they try up changing something, man. Brian G said Shakur going to destroy Herring. Is going to destroy Herring, hopefully. But I want Shakur really to destroy Valdez. Oh, dude, if he's in shape, he'll beat you. Look, the only reason that the fight would be close, the only reason Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez would be close is because Oscar Valdez is on the juice. That's it. Because other than that, he's going to get mopped. Because he's not that good a fighter. He needs that. And I don't care what he says about I'm a clean fighter. You're not a clean fighter, man. No way. You don't get tired. You just keep plodding forward, taking all kind of shots. Get out of here, man. LD said, you should hear what Victor Conte said about boxers like Pac or Canelo. He explained Jamaica's top track dominance. Yeah, I mean, these dudes are obviously on the juice, man. You know it when you think Robinson was robbed. He was robbed with the juice. He was robbed with that, but no, not the way that the fight. If he wasn't, if aside from the juice, no, I don't think he was robbed. I don't think he was robbed. I thought it was a close fight. That 117-110 scorecard, though, I mean, that one, obviously that was too wide. But no, I don't think he's robbed, man. Not the way that fight went. You know, I mean, because there was a period because he was putting the pressure on the guy the whole fight, man. So I used to love Andre Ward. Yeah, man, Andre Ward in the ring is a great fighter, man. Outside the ring, you know, he's got his opinion just like anybody else. But he stood up and said what the deal was with the performance enhancing, with the juicing. But they've got guys there, you know. I think I'm putting it this way. I think that Tim Bradley and Andre Ward do the best that they can do, you know, in the situation that they're in, man. You know what I mean? You said he was definitely robbed. I mean, you know, man, robbery is really heavy, man. Robbery is heavy. I didn't score the fight, you know, because honestly, I already knew what the conclusion was. That's pretty bad. You know, when you don't score a fight because you already know what the outcome of the fight's going to be. I mean, he needed a knockout to win. He needed a knockout to win that fight. He needed a knockout to win that fight. And did you see when they took that point away? When they took the point away for hitting behind the head? Like, come on, man. And then Oscar Valdez did it 2 straight times and they didn't do anything to Oscar Valdez. Okay, so no robbery. I didn't think it was a robbery. Look, it was a robbery with the steroid, with the PEDs. That was the robbery, to allow that dude to fight knowing that the guy was juiced. That's the robbery, you know. Said Fannon, Valdez was on that O.J. Simpson. You know he was. But look, some people say it's a robbery. Some people didn't. Personally, I think people throw around the word robbery a little too much. You know what I mean? It's not like Conceição was, you know, absolutely dominating the guy. It was a fight where I think that probably Conceição probably won more rounds. If everything was fair, Conceição probably won more rounds than Valdez did. But, you know, I don't say it was a robbery. I think he got robbed of a point. I mean, without a doubt, I think he got robbed of a point by when they took away that. All he did, he tapped him a couple times. He immediately took points away. So, you know, they had the protection agency out for Oscar Valdez, you know, because they want to make sure people come back to Tucson, Arizona and have more big fights in Tucson, Arizona, if that's where it was. Kevin Wells said, Fannon, that man was robbed. That is, he didn't get him until around the 8th or the 9th round, and he didn't do much else. But then because he kept on moving, it was a robbery, straight out robbery. You know, I mean, if you think it was a robbery, I mean, I can appreciate why you would think that it was. I personally did not score it round by round because I'm not stupid. I knew what they were going to do. You know, I knew what they were going to do. This is the Oscar Valdez. They're trying to make a star out of Oscar Valdez. And Oscar and Conceição was behind 4 rounds when he got there. You know? Is Oscar Valdez in Fannon's top 10? Hell no. I don't think he's like I said, he's a left hook and a left hook and steroids. That's what Oscar Valdez in my book. He's got a good left. He's got a nice lead left hook. Other than that nice lead left hook, that's about it for Oscar Valdez. And when he gets in there with Shakur Stevenson, is provided he ain't on some no super duper juice. You know, Shakur Stevenson should beat him. But nah, man, he ain't in my top 10, man. I can't do that to myself, man. What's going on? Stanley Sims says, salute, champ. And God bless. Keep telling the whole facts. No, that's a no more talk. Yeah, facts, no more talk. Yes, exactly, man. Hey, man, who's that come from? Willie D, no more talk? Yeah, no more talk. It is what it is, man. He said, juice, judges, and referee against you equals a robbery. Now, if you define like that way, yeah. The juice, the judges, and the referee, yeah. Because he definitely had one of the refs in his pocket, without a doubt. That 117-110, get out of here. The ref with that take, and the referee was talking to Conceição exclusively throughout the fight. Right? Brother Savage said, Fannon, do you think these different PEDs allow Mexican fighters to walk through punches throughout the entire fight. I wouldn't say Mexican fighters. I would say the PEDs allow fighters to do that. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna, because you're not gonna feel the effect. You're in better condition. Well, at least that's my understanding of how it works, and that's how it looks to me when you see these guys be able to, like for example, what's my man's name? Big Baby Miller, the heavyweight. He's not Mexican, but the Big Baby Miller is a black fighter. But when you see a man that was weighing like 330 pounds, throwing 300 punches around and never getting tired, it didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me at all that he wound up testing positive for juice, right? Because like, dude, you never get tired. I mean, dude, these fighters get tired. In old school fighters, they used to have to pace themselves. Oscar Valdez was not pacing himself. Everything he was throwing was full blast. Did you see Oscar Valdez throwing any light punches in that fight? Right? He was throwing all out. He was going all out the entire fight. I mean, he doesn't have the fastest feet in the world, right? But as far as what the punches he was throwing, his velocity on them punches did not change from round 1 to round 12. His stamina did not drop from round 1 to round 12. He took a ton of punishment, and it didn't affect him. And we know he was on PEDs. All that tells you what PEDs does. That allows you to do that type of stuff. But he's a clean fighter, right? He's a clean fighter. Mr. Fannon, do you think boxing is turned into wrestling at the top of? I think it's trying to. I think that there's some promoters and people trying to cheat their way to the top by putting out garbage products. With clickbait, they're putting out clickbait products. They're putting out clickbait products. And in boxing, they got absolutely Eddie Reynoso and those guys' camp as dirty as they come. I'm sorry, they're just dirty. So, people are doing what they got to do to stay at the top of at the top of boxing, and people aren't doing much about it, man. Michael Nuke said, "Happy Christmas, Mr. Fannon, and a Happy New Year." Hey, man. He said Oscar Valdez along with the WBC stole that fight. I feel bad for any opponent that trained so hard to lose that way. Yeah. Shame on the WBC. Shame on Oscar Valdez. Shame on the Puxatani, whatever their name is, the Puxatani crew, all of that stuff. Shame on that ref for taking that point away. Like, you just, obviously, man, if he wasn't on juice, he lost that fight. If he was not juicing, he loses that fight, man. Man, what's going on? Ken Sanford, man. He said, hey to all, Salute Fannon. Yeah, when you see guys get clipped, recoup in seconds, check that blood. Exactly, man. You owe me? Yeah, I do. They're announcing it next week. Didn't you see? Even though the only thing that they're waiting on is Terrence Crawford. I hope so, man. I don't want to have to pay you $50, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to pay you $50. And can you put your positive energy towards a real fight, Fahim? Come on, man. Can you put your energy and say, man, let's get this Sean Porter Terrence Crawford fight. It's a real fight, man. They got another fight coming up. You know what I'm saying? They got some more nonsense they about to pop up. Jake Paul versus Tyson versus what's the guy's name? Tommy Fury. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury is going to be the big fight. In November if we don't get this fight. Come on, man. He said, hey, did you see the post-fight interview? ESPN coverage is major scripted. They try to paint Valdez as the victim. I'm flabbergasted. Oh, when Valdez, I've been through so much this week. What? Shut up, man. Like, you're saying all these bad things to me in the ring, and he probably was like, you juiced. That's what he should have said to him in the ring, you cheater. Should have been, you a cheater? Yeah, I lost to a cheater. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, good job, cheater. That's what I would have been saying to him the whole fight. Yeah, not getting tired, huh, cheater? Yeah, still got a lot of energy, don't you, cheater? Like how you going to respect that dude getting in the ring with that stuff, man? You know what I mean? Easy win for the Mexican champion. Hey, man, it was an easy win. It was not an easy win. He got beat up, okay? He got beat up in that fight, man. Oscar Valdez ain't all that, man. I hope you ain't riding out on Oscar Valdez, okay? Because they're not going to they're not going to continually let that do. There's going to be a fighter to beat him with or without his juice because he's not very good. He doesn't have a lot. He's just a come forward fighter that's on juice. Come forward fighter throwing a lot of punches on drugs. That's Oscar Valdez, and that's going to be Oscar Valdez every time I call an Oscar Valdez fighter. Every time I call one of his fights or talk about him, he's just a come forward fighter on the juice. Now, if you're proud of that, be proud of that. But that's all he is. He doesn't deserve to be mentioned among the best fighters in the world because he's just a rock'em sock'em robot on steroids. That's it. He's a rock'em sock'em robot on the juice. And that's what he looked like. That's what he looked like in the fight. He looked like trash in the fight. And it looked like the only reason he beat the guy, the only reason he beat the guy is because he could take a lot of punishment without getting tired. Just boom, be right back at it. Get out of here, man. And but don't worry about it. They're not going to be there. They're not going to be there for him when he's brain dead because, when he's running around mumbling and shit because he's taking a whole lot of pressure, a whole lot of punishment that he ain't supposed to be taking. You know what I mean? He said Valdez on the juice, the entire team on the juice. Yeah, and that's okay though. But that's Team Canelo. Because Canelo Alvarez is on the juice. And it's okay. You guys you're not getting any actual credit for it. Okay? Nobody's gonna really, when everything's said and done, people are gonna be like Canelo was on the juice. Oscar Valdez is on the juice. That's why he does well, because he juices. He got caught juicing, both of them got caught juicing. And the only people that don't care about it is the people that are putting the money up there. But you guys know, in your heart of hearts, you know that Oscar Valdez is a cheat. And if you're a real boxing fan and you're celebrating that, I just don't think you're a real big fan of the sport. That's like, do you want your team to win cheating? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that give you I'm from Chicago and, I'm a big fan of, I was a big fan of Chicago Bears. If they were cheating if they were literally cheating in order to do that, how do you know your team's actually better than somebody if the umpires, it was a football ref, the refs are cheating every way, the referees won't let anybody rush the line. It's phony, man. So he said, it's known you can't shake the stamina. It's called estruius. I'm not sure what that is, man. I'm probably mispronouncing it, man. Kevin Wells said, Fannon, did you see they face after the fight who looked like they took the most punishment? Oscar Valdez got busted up. Oscar Valdez is garbage, man. Like, he's garbage, dude. He's not a very good fighter. And if his face wouldn't look like that. He gets hit and he just walks through punches. Consistently walking through punches. But, hey, man. Jose Rodriguez said, Fannon, not steroids according to the Valdez fans, just a banned substance. Yeah, just something else. It's not an anabolic steroid. It's something else that he cheats with. So what, man? He's a cheater. So what? You know what I mean? Like you don't get any pub out of that, man. To have your world, I can understand. It's just disgusting, man. TJ Boxing Sports said, great Sunday, Fannon. Really hurt seeing my favorite heavyweight of all time get beat up like that so early. Love the channel. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's sad, man. It is, but he got $500,000 for it, and it is what it is, man. That's not the Evander. That's not the real Evander Holyfield. That's the name Evander. They paid for the name. That's it. They were like, hey, we'll give you the money for the name. He was probably gonna do Oscar De La Hoya the same way. Just like, give me that money. You got your name. You got a good name that people are going to watch. Sell me your name real quick. Get in the ring, take a beating, and then we'll have Belfort fight somebody else. Somebody, Tito Trinidad will come out and fight Belfort, or who's a 50-year-old still around, Riddick Bowe, and have Riddick Bowe fight him, or it's just corny, man. Philip Guthrie said they're just race fans. As long as they feel Latinos are on top, they don't care how they get there. Some of them are like that. Some of them are, I don't know, I don't know, man. I hate doing that. I really do. Like, I hate talking about Latinos and the fact that, like, if you want to support, First of all, I don't even want to get into that. Mexicans supporting Mexicans. If you're Mexican and you want to support a Mexican, I'm 100% in favor of you supporting a Mexican fighter. But once your guy is a cheat, and you should call it out. That's just obvious, man. And that's the decent thing to do. If you just want your guy to win and you don't care what he does, honestly, man, you're just a fanboy. That's all that is, man. You're a fanboy. You're there for the ride. And, there's no honor in it. There's no honor in that at all. And honestly, man, there's very little honor in boxing right now at all. That's like the one thing that's like something that goes out the window in boxing is a sense of honor, a sense of fairness, a sense of, you trained, he trained. All you're doing is getting in the ring you guys are both getting in the ring with a pair of gloves, and there you go. We'll see who the best fighter is. You guys are supporting people that do a bunch of stuff outside the ring in order to get the advantage in the ring, besides training or being fair. And that's what Oscar Valdez like. But you saw it. Oscar Valdez he's juice. That's what he is. And he's going to continue to be that because that's what he has. He's got a head that can take punches, and he's got access to the vitamins and necessary to allow him to do that, man. Philly said, we knew the outcome with Holyfield. He looked terrible in the warm-ups. Yeah, man, he looked very, very slow hitting those pads. It looked like John David Jackson's hand was faster getting to him. This looks like John David Jackson was the one hitting the pads. Yankee world champion. Cheating has nothing to do with race, Fannon. Stop the race baiting. Fuck you, Yankee world champion. Because I didn't say it did. Thank you very much. What I said was that I don't care. I'm okay with Mexicans rooting for Mexicans. That's all I said. Cheating is cheating. I didn't say it did have anything to do with it. Thank you very much. And I don't understand exactly how you could possibly come to the conclusion that I did. Cheaters, I didn't insinuate nothing. You're insinuating it. You're accusing me of that. I'm telling you that Oscar Valdez is a drug cheat because he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. And if you're supporting Oscar Valdez, even though you know he has support, even though you know he tested positive for performance-enhancing drug, the problem is you. The problem is not me. I'm telling you flat out, Oscar Valdez tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug. You know he tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug, and you don't care. I never said anything about Mexicans cheating any more than anybody else does. And in fact, I said that the example that I used was Jarrell Big Baby Miller, who the last time I checked was a black fighter that tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Okay? You guys are trying to hide behind that crap because your guy's a scumbag. Okay? And in fact, it's like you're race baiting because you're trying to bring it in. All I'm saying is that Oscar Valdez is a scumbag that tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. The WBC allowed him to fight, and he got in there looking like he was on steroids. Everybody knew he was on steroids, including you. So what's your justification for him being on steroids? That I'm biased against Mexicans? That's your response? That's the response you got to that? You're trash. Seriously. And on the real, I actually do really like boxing, and it is something that you got a lot of people working very hard to be the best at. And when somebody like Oscar Valdez does what Oscar Valdez does, and it's backed up by the WBC, and it's backed up by people like you, it gets to be a little bit old, man. You know what I mean? There are really good fights in boxing that we could be talking about. Really good boxing, really good matchups in boxing. There are a ton of very, very good boxers. Very good boxers. And Oscar Valdez knows that he's not one of them. So what he does is he cheats his way up there, and you're okay with him cheating him because as long as it's your guy, you're okay with it. As long as the other guys are losing, whatever, cheat Shakur Stevenson. Cheat him. Right? So the fight coming up, if he fights Shakur Stevenson and beats him, even though you know this dude is juicing, you're going to be 100% happy with that. I'm not, dog. I'm not going to be. I would rather if Oscar Valdez was a clean fighter and Shakur Stevenson was a dirty fighter, I would rather have Oscar Valdez win any day of the week. If if I knew that Shakur Stevenson was a cheater, that he was getting in there under performance enhancing drugs. But not guys like you. Guys like you want to run around and say I insinuated anything. I've never insinuated anything negative about Hispanics, Latinos, Mexicans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans. Never did any of that because I don't have any time for that, right? I'm a black dude and we get enough of that crap. I don't go trying to spread it around to other people. Maybe you should try the same thing and not try to spread that around to black people, always calling black people racist because they point out that your guy cheated. He said, if you want to blame Fannon, you want to blame me, not Mr. Fannon. I mean, dude, look, man, I've never done it. And they know that I don't do it. But you guys just make up a bunch of crap trying to get headway on it. And, you know, I'm listening to guys. I listened to live streams this week where I was sitting there like, man, is it a full-time job to call black people race baiters? Like anytime it seems to me that anytime that a black person brings up a legitimate issue with somebody else, it's the black guy race baiting. And now I'm not denying that people will that there are black folk that will talk bad about Mexicans because there certainly are. However, I'm not one of them. But I constantly hear that. Like I listen to it like it's like a cottage industry. It's just like an industry of that. But anyway, y'all keep doing you, man. I don't want to get too excited about it. I'm trying to keep my blood pressure at a nice even keel, man. Miguel Oramo said, I'm Latino. I watch your shows all the time. Love your content and never felt that type and have never felt any type of way. Thanks, man. Because people that actually know and watch my channel know that's a bunch of garbage. But it's a bunch of garbage that people try to use to get views or try to get, I don't know what, or they just don't listen, one or the other. But it gets kind of tiring, man. But you're defending Oscar Valdez, man. You know what I mean? You're defending Oscar Valdez by trying to put the finger on other people. The people were doing that all this week. Every time somebody says something about Oscar Valdez, what about Floyd Mayweather Jr.? What about Shane Mosley? What about Roy Jones Jr.? And my answer for the entire week has been, what about them? What do they have to do with Oscar Valdez cheating? Seriously, what does he have to do with Oscar Valdez cheating? And I never heard anybody do that with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. When Jarrell Big Baby Miller popped dirty with everything under the sun, everybody just said the guy needs to be out of boxing. And it was unanimous. Everybody, the only thing that was really pointed out was, dang, that's pretty interesting how you're willing to throw him under the bus, but let Canelo Alvarez do whatever Canelo Alvarez needs to do. Philip Guthrie said, as good as Barry Bonds is, I don't think he should ever make the Hall of Fame because he was a cheater. Man, that was a good ass cheater before he started cheating, but they all were, man. I used to go to those Major League Baseball games. Those guys look like linebackers out there, man. In the 90s, I'm seriously, Cal Ripken, I was like, God dog, how big is Cal Ripken? Them some big old boys, man. You know what I mean? But no, man, I'm not big on that. Say Jose Rodriguez said Fannon didn't Mexican bash. People, especially Mexicans, pay attention. He didn't say Mexicans. I appreciate it because that's what they do. I get race baited constantly. Have never said a negative word about a Latino because they were Latino in my entire life. Have never done it. Like 100% in my life, I can tell you, I've been around this world. I've been on this earth for over 50 years. I have never called a Mexican out of his name, not one time, ever. Never done it. Never done it to an Asian. I've never done it to an Asian. I've never done it to anybody. I've had that happen to me too many times to do that to somebody else. I've heard other black people do that and engage in that, and that definitely happens. But with me, you've never ever heard it. Ever heard it. And I've had more people come at me with that garbage than it's like, no, just because your boy cheats, you don't get that safe haven, homie. Papito said, Fannon, you think Triller is here to stay in boxing entertainment market with these fantasy matchups? I hope not, dog. I hope not. Seriously, I hope they flame out. I hope all these exhibition matches and all this stuff flames out and goes away pretty quick so we can get real fights, so we can focus on real fights, man. Even in the conversations about it, man. You know what I'm saying? Even in the conversations about boxing. I'm sick of talking about Jake Paul. Like, why are we talking about Jake Paul and boxing at the same time? You know what I mean? It's like it's a conversation that should be happening on YouTube amongst YouTube channels, not amongst people that are really into boxing and really want to figure out and want to know, really want to see. And Skip just seen who the best is, want to see good fights, man. Tupac and Biggie said, let's keep it a buck. White fighters and Mexican fighters have to cheat to compete with superior black. Hey, I can't say that. I can't say that. I don't think that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. needed to cheat to compete. I don't think Salvador Sanchez needed to cheat to compete. I don't believe it. I believe that there's a lot of excellent Mexican fighters. There's not a lot of white people box. There's just not a lot of white people that box. I don't think they're as good as black fighters because I think black fighters are generally more skilled. And I chalk it up to them being the good ones being more skilled. Andre Ward is more skilled than the guys that he fought. He's just a better fighter. Shakur Stevens is a better fighter. He's a better boxer. Genetics is one thing, and yeah, he's a talented fighter, but he's also a better boxer. He's a better fighter than Oscar Valdez. He's received better training than Oscar Valdez. He's a more well-rounded fighter than Oscar Valdez. I think he's more talented than Oscar Valdez. You know what I'm saying? But like Roberto Duran, I don't think Roberto Duran had to cheat. He was a highly skilled fighter. Juan Manuel Marquez was and El Terrible. Those guys are excellent fighters, man. Canelo Alvarez is an excellent fighter, but Canelo Alvarez cheats, and so that he you know what it is. At least that's how I take it, man. I don't really go. I think that that you have a high likelihood of seeing an incredibly talented boxer out of any race. Any race can produce one. It's just that white people don't fight that much, and they're not that good in the UK. They're really not. But every once in a while, one of them dudes pop out the top, and they wind up being a really good fighter, like Joe Calzaghe or Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko is an excellent fighter. I don't think he's the best fighter that has ever walked into a ring like people treat him like they were acting. But you look at Vasily Lomachenko, you see a very talented fighter that's a very skilled fighter, and that's why he wins his fights, right? I don't think that he has to cheat to compete, At least that's the way that I see it, man. He said Mexican fighters are the toughest champions in the game. They should not point the finger at all for the arrogance of one. Yeah, for the arrogance. I'm not sure what that means. What's going on, Wayne Dash? How you feeling, man? Man, I don't care about that dude. Could not care less. If you think Valdez won that fight, you think Valdez won the fight. That's nothing unfair. It could be argued that Oscar Valdez won that fight. I personally don't think Oscar Valdez should have got the fight. I would have probably scored it for Conceição. But Conceição's Latino too, isn't he? Isn't Conceição Latino? He's not. He speaks Spanish, doesn't he? Oh no, he speaks Portuguese. Aren't Brazilians Latinos too? Isn't he Latino? Just wondering. Is Conceição Latino? Let's talk. Let's tell the truth, shame the devil. Okay? Conceição's Latino, ain't he? Guillermo Rigondeaux's Latino, isn't he? Yeah. Right? Get my point? Only the Funk said, you got to read between the lines, Fannon. Race baiting is defined as don't call out our racism. Black boxers running translation too skilled and we can't hit them with our exactly, dude. He said, Wayne Dad said he ain't the sexy Latino though. He's the Portuguese version. Yeah, you know a black person when you see one. That's what I'm saying. You're not confused that that's a black dude. You're not confused with it at all. And don't act like that stuff ain't happening over there. Whole bunch of that is happening over there. So How about you deal with the racism that takes place within Latinos and between each other and stop pointing it at us? Okay? Because I know damn well, I remember, what's that black girl's name? The Cuban black girl who wore the afro. Some years ago, and another Latino dude said that she needs to stop being so black. Said Lisa Vonda Heerden, only the non-black Latinos are considered real Latinos. I can't speak for that, but I know I sure get a whiff of it. It seems like there's almost colorism over there. Seems almost like there's some light-skinned black folk that want to act like they're not black, but you got some black folk over there that speak Spanish and is going to remind you by their very appearance that you are. But you know what I mean? It is what it is. You guys can keep faking and acting and all of that crap if you want to do. I'm not into it, man. Hassan Assad said, facts, Fannon, if you notice the anti-black fighters will overlook anything non-black fighters do. Imagine if Tank or Spence tested positive for PEDs. Can you imagine? Yeah, I can absolutely imagine. They would be suspended and they would not be allowed to fight. They would be suspended. They would not be allowed to fight. If the WBC tried to let them fight, all of these people that support Oscar Valdez would all be on their neck, because there's no sense of fairness there, man. There's no sense of fairness. No sense of I want to see the best man win amongst certain people. And it just so happens that those certain people are the loudest. Trolls are very, very loud, and I don't believe I don't believe personally that that's the consensus of most Mexican fans. I don't. Most Mexican fans that I've ever had conversations with, they will tell you in a minute what the deal is. But you have certain people that try to drum up views. They try to drum up controversy and then claim that somebody else is the one trying to claim the controversy. Like, for example, with me, I'd never do videos on anybody else. You've never seen it. You never see me like take issues with what somebody else said on their YouTube channel or whatever. But you constantly see those type of cats doing that because they're the ones that are trying to stir that up. And then trying to defend something that is in the midst of it, trying to defend something that is just abhorrent. But it is what it is, man. Tupac Biggie said Barry Bonds should be inducted into the Hall of Fame because they are white and Latino baseball cheats in the Hall of Fame. Look, man, the Hall of Fame for me is whatever, really. I thought there was a lot of hypocrisy around him, knowing full well that it was only because he broke that record. It was only because he broke that record. That's it. Multiracial is not black. Yeah, it is. Absolutely it is. If you got black, if you don't think so, come to the United States and you'll catch it. I can't speak. What is it then? What is black? What is it then? Because everybody's mixed. Nice to know that, because that means you can tell 80% of black people in America that they ain't black anymore. Because you know how many people got British, got English in us, French, Spanish. It's the same mix. People got the same mix they got in Dominican Republic. They got the same mixes that they got in Puerto Rico, same mixes that you got down there. What's that name? What's that dude's name? Uskatagi? What's Uskatagi? What's Uskatagi? Uskatagi don't look black to you? Uskatagi looks black to me. If he was in the United States, he would have to tell somebody he's not black. They'd have to be like, you're black. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, nice to see you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, though, man. You guys keep living in that la-la land if you want to live in that la-la land. You know what I mean? I don't particularly care. As long as you leave me alone when I'm talking about boxing. Because I don't care where Oscar Valdez, I don't care where Oscar Valdez is. Oscar Valdez tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and that's it. If you want to defend him doing that, that's on you. But leave me alone by saying that somehow I'm being racist because I'm pointing out that he did it. He did it, not me. You know what I'm saying? It's Vada caught him, not me. He signed up to be a boxer and by doing so, he said he would play according to certain rules. He doesn't play the rule, Exact. Tito Trinidad champion never cheated. Cotto champion never cheated. Respect for those in the game. Exactly. Never got caught cheating. Anyway, you know what I mean? King Camille said, black is a color in the Constitution. It was formed in the frame of the science. White means the original people from East Africa, Europe, and Spain. Black means nothingness, feeling slave and having no rights. Yeah. But let me tell you what basically what it is, okay? It's any one of y'all that got African in you, period. Like, cut to the end of it. If you got African in you, you're on that continuum, homie. They call it the diaspora. And there's some people out there that want to act like they're something different. Be something different. Knock yourself out. You know what I mean? Knock yourself out. Be who you want to be. But when it comes down to it, leave me alone, okay? And don't come shouting racism at me, because I'm not shouting racism at you. We got real racism in the world, real things and real situations that people get into. To have to deal with a bunch of garbage, you know, like that is honestly, man, it's a little bit, you know, unnecessary. You know what I mean? Ken Sandifer said, we're all multiracial in this country. High percentage. The darker you are, the more you're treated differently. Fact. It is. And exactly. And it happens among people that speak that language too. They act like Desi Arnaz got treated like he got treated like God, man, whose name is it? Who's a good Celia Cruz? Like, yeah, anyway, man, whatever, man. You guys just keep that phony baloney nonsense up if you want to keep it. I wish everybody could magically speak the same language and we could get rid of the Tower of Babel. If everybody could just speak the same language, and everybody spoke it, then boom. Okay, we'll see what the deal is. And then we'll see where your specialty lies. Get out of here, man. You're just trying to find some whatever. JK said, no scientific evidence to support we're all mixed. That's ridiculous. Absolutely, there is scientific evidence to produce that. We all come from the same original person. There's absolutely irrefutable evidence that we're all mixed because we're all related. Every human being on this planet is related to every other human being on this planet. Everybody. So you're mixed with something. It's called human being. Okay? Everybody is related to everybody. Okay? That's proof enough. But even if it's not, just use your eyes, man. Okay? Use your eyes. Anyway, I don't want to keep going this way. You know, it don't pay the bills. You guys are just, you know, it's not fun. Just if your guy tests positive for performance enhancing drugs, then your guy tested positive for performance enhancing drugs. That's it. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? He said, you are what your father is. I mean, that's one of the sayings that go around. That's one of the sayings that go around. When did we take African Americans population? Take a deep, man, shut up, man. Just stop. Okay? Just stop. You know what I'm saying? Just stop. All right? Use your common sense, man. Okay? There was one thing like a human. Everybody else came from there. It doesn't care how far apart it got, dude. You will find a whole lot of people that are related to you. Watch this. You have 2 grandparents, 4 great-grandparents, 8 great-great-grandparents, 16 great-great-great-grandparents. When you get back to your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, like 10 generations back, you're all related. You're all related. By the time you get back, as soon as you get back too far, you're going to see that everybody is literally has to be related. It's common sense. You know what I mean? You get that through just simple arithmetic and the way that birth works. Okay? The way that birth works. But if you don't want to believe that, I couldn't give a fat rat, man. The most you guys are looking back with those DNA tests are like 6-7 generations. Human beings have been around for millions of years. Okay, millions of years with a whole bunch of civilizations that rose, fell, all of that stuff. But anyway, y'all keep doing that all you want. Said Devin, the overpriced Duck Haney, aka fake champion. Come on, man. Let's keep it a buck. Black fighters have to fight C-level Mexicans to make it 12 rounds. Yeah, get out. Like I said, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot from the title. Just looking for something. You're one of those cats. You're one of those cats that race base for all of that nonsense. Please. That's when you try to do that stuff. You come with complete stupidity and think people are going to go along that lines of complete stupidity. Let me tell you what will happen. If a A-class Mexican fighter fights a C-class black fighter, the Mexican's going to win. When an A-class black fighter fights a C-class Mexican, the black fighter is going to win. When an A-class black fighter fights a C-class black fighter, the A-class black fighter is going to win. When you have an A-class Mexican fight a C-class Mexican, the A-class Mexican is going to win. Unless the C-class gets on steroids and is allowed to get in there and the refs cheat and all kind of other nonsense to make that C-class guy look better. But it has something to do with how good the fighter is, not necessarily how good skilled they are, how talented they are, and how good a pedigree they have. That's what the outcome of it is. If you have Nacho Beristain get an extremely talented Mexican fighter, train him, give him the sparring that he needs, that guy's going to come out beating a whole lot of black fighters. Okay? A whole lot of them. Because guess what? When Manuel Marquez was fighting, I guarantee you there was only a handful of black fighters that could have beat him. Period. Maybe 2-3 fighters could have beaten Manuel Marquez. Period. Let alone being black. It just so happened that Floyd Mayweather Jr. was one of them. He's that skilled a fighter. Same thing goes with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is an A-class fighter. It's going to be a very rare is anybody going to be able to beat him because he's so talented. I don't think he's the most skilled guy in the world, but he's an extremely, extremely talented fighter. So as a result, he's a difficult fighter to beat. Period. And you can take a lot of the racial stuff out of that. I'm telling you. And I say that to black people all the time. Like, I don't want to say that black people are better athletes because we're just naturally better athletes. Because quite honestly, I was a good athlete and I've met white guys that were better athletes than me. And a lot of it has to do with how skilled you are. But there are black fighters. I will tell you though, there are black athletes that are incredibly talented athletes. And if they know the skill set, it's going to be very, very difficult to beat them. And that's the truth. But typically, those guys come from genes of their dad was a great athlete. Mother was a great athlete. But, I try not to put it on that as much as I can't put it on that. Because, skill comes into play. And the fact is, Gary Russell Jr. is very, very skilled. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is very skilled. He's more skilled than Manny Pacquiao is. I don't think he's a better athlete than Manny Pacquiao. Or, there you go. I don't think he's a better athlete than Manny Pacquiao is. I think he's a better boxer than Manny Pacquiao is. He's a more skilled fighter than Manny Pacquiao is. When Manny Pacquiao wants to do something, Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s got an answer for it because Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a trained fighter and knows what he's doing in the ring. Same thing with Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson's a better fighter than Oscar Valdez. The only question is Oscar Valdez and his steroids going to be able to overcome that by never getting tired and by bringing artificial athleticism into it, artificial endurance into it, artificial strength into it. You know what I'm saying? If he's able to do that, if he's never getting tired, and Shakur Stevenson does get fatigued, then you got a conditioning issue. So Oscar Valdez takes advantage of artificial conditioning. That's what the performance enhancing drugs are. They're artificial conditioning. It gives you the ability to work harder than somebody else who's not on them. And that's how I see it. You know what I mean? Kevin Wells said, Fannon, he can't get off Dev. Amy, they haven't had any clear the whole division, but you ain't got to fight. I'm not sure. You got to re-put that out there again, man. Yeah, nobody beats Tank at 135. I don't think he does. And I think that's because of his skill. Like Lomachenko, dude. Lomachenko is a highly skilled fighter, man. Highly skilled fighter. Now, I do think that they are tired of losing to the best black fighters, though. I don't think they like losing to black fighters. I agree with that. I do think that I'm not going to deny and say that there isn't tribalism in boxing, because there's definitely a lot of tribalism in boxing. People may or may not want to lose, don't want to lose to the other guy. And that's cool. You know what I mean? That's a natural thing. If somebody's from your community or somebody you feel like you got some type of real connection to is fighting, there's nothing wrong with rooting for your guy, and that's what my point was. My point is there's nothing wrong with Mexicans rooting for Mexican fighters. Nothing. We can sit there. I can sit with a Mexican, have a beer with a Mexican fighter. You route for the Mexican fighter. I can root for the black fighter, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But if I start excusing the cheating and I start cheating, it's like you're ripping me off in a bet, man. You know what I mean? But the tribalism is real. I understand that's there, and that's what it is, The only person who has a chance of beating Haney at 135, Tank at 135 is Haney. But again, his chin is a little suspect for Tank. I don't know. Lomachenko got a shot. People are really underestimating Lomachenko, man. Really underestimating Vasily Lomachenko. There's a reason Teofimo Lopez don't want to get back in the ring with that dude. Vasily Lomachenko is a hard bet on anybody, dog. Seriously. Vasily Lomachenko, I think, will cause a problem for anybody. That is a very, very good fighter that is not being talked about a lot. You know what I mean? Jason Brown said, nothing wrong with supporting your own, but there is something wrong with cheating. Exactly. So just call like what it is. Don't defend your guy when he cheats. Your guy cheated. So what are you so happy about? You know what I mean? Like, you should be ashamed because you see what he did. And you see that's what he looks like when he's on steroids. How do you come to Tank sleeping Lomachenko? What have you seen out of Vasily Lomachenko that tells you he's going to get slept? I haven't seen anything that tells me that. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Vasily Lomachenko is going the distance. And Gervonta Davis is going to need to have boxing skills to beat him. Gervonta Davis is guy, and you may not like this, but Gervonta Davis has quite a span of, cherries lying behind. He's got a bunch of cherry picks behind him, man. Pits. He's got some cherry pits behind him, all right? He has not fought anything like Lomachenko. So him just going to knock him out? How? Lomachenko is an excellent, excellent fighter, man. Lomachenko's an excellent fighter. Gervonta Davis is an excellent fighter. And so for you to think that he's just going to walk up in there and just going to run through Lomachenko, man, you must not be watching Lomachenko fight. Lomachenko's the real deal, man. He is the real deal. He's not somebody that you're just going to, he's going to walk in there and chin him. He's got a chin. I saw him take flush shots from Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez can go. Honestly, right now, man, don't get me started on, I don't want to even get on Lomachenko, old man, 33 now. I don't know. He hasn't shown it yet. Okay? He did get touched up, though. No, he did get touched up. I have seen it. But last fight with Nakatani, he looked really good with Nakatani. Tupac Biggs, Fannon, you remember Jimmy the racist Greek he said blacks were superior athletes because they were bred to be bigger, faster, and stronger. Yeah, and it rips off. And you know what it does? It totally ruins, it totally eliminates from consideration their work ethic. Like, these guys don't work hard. The greatest athletes, the greatest black athletes work like fiends, pretty much. Some people are born, like Randy Moss with like just ridiculous speed and all that. But dude, he didn't get that good without working, without knowing his routes, without knowing how to, without knowing how to read cornerbacks and do whatever it is that he needs to do to be the best receiver. You know what I mean? He's extremely talented, and some maybe, who are my top three fighters right now? Top three fighters. That's tough. Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, Man, it's tough without these guys fighting. It's tough. But I might throw Lomachenko still in there. Because I think Lomachenko can beat Teofimo Lopez. I think if he would have pressed, he could have beat him the first time. Not Boots yet. And Canelo, I mean, I would say Canelo, but Canelo's juicing. And I'm just not in the mood for it. You know, I'm leaving the heavyweights away from everybody else. You know what I mean? I'm leaving the heavyweights. Said, oh, Spence, Colbert, and Lomachenko for you. Chris Colbert can fight, man. For sure. Ron Mills said, that's the sad thing. Boxing is giving us these exhibitions and mismatches, but none of these young bloods are fighting each other. Competitive boxing sucks in 2021. It's terrible. It's the worst year of boxing I can remember in a while, man. And last year wasn't the greatest, but you know, it's like the covers have been ripped off, man. Exactly. Said Ken Stanford said, please don't use genetics to diminish the athlete's work ethic, drive, and heart. Go see what these guys put themselves through. Floyd was never out of shape. Exactly. They're not betting on that, man. These guys are working like fiends. The best fighters work like fiends. And those are the ones that wind up being the best, the guys with the best work ethic. Because if they didn't, they'd quit, you know? Jermell, yeah, I mean, you know, I like Jermell. I wish it was tough, man. It was really tough on that Jermell versus Castano fight. Floyd, King Judah said Floyd will feed Tank Hispanic fighters because they are slow, fat-footed punching bags. He's going to feed them slow. He'll feed them slow, flat-footed punching bags for sure. I'm getting tired of that shit. He's got to fight somebody pretty soon. Seriously, that's it. On Gervonta got to fight somebody now. Like it's old now. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't getting on him before about the Lomachenko fight because you know he was young, and they weren't in the same weight class. But at this point in time, I want to see. I mean, I don't got a lot of room to forgive anybody, especially when Errol Spence Jr. is doing what Errol Spence Jr. is doing. You know, Errol Spence Jr. is literally fighting everybody, man. You know, he'll fight anybody. I believe that Errol Spence Jr. will fight anybody. I do not believe that. I don't believe that about a lot of people, man. You know, and some of the people that people are talking about are the best fighters. It's just not true of, you know. Ryan Miller said, I feel Jamal is the better athlete at the weight class than Jermell is. I don't know, man. I think that they're both very good, man. And Jermell, I just like Jermell's attitude better than Jamal's. I like his go get it. You know, I like his go get it in him. But they're both top-notch fighters, man. But you know, at the same time, they both can be beatable. You know, depending on who they get. But if, you know, we'd have to see the fights. Now, I think that, you know, Brian Castano, Jermell's going to get him next time. Tiffany Pipe says, Spence, Crawford, Charlo twins, Haney, Tank, Ennis, Shakur, Wilder, Benavidez. Yeah, Benavidez is a beast, man. I like David Benavidez a lot, man. Haney is the most ducked. No way. I'm not even going to get that out, dog. No, he's not as ducked as Gary Russell Jr. He's got a lot of people ducking him now. Gary Russell Jr. has been having people duck him for the last 5 years. Like everybody that came through 126 duck Gary Russell Jr. He's just in Gary Russell Jr.'s shoes. He's a very difficult fighter that has the ability to beat anybody, that is not a big money fight, right? And there's bigger money fights all around him, so they don't fight him. But I don't think he's any more ducked. I don't think he's any more ducked than Gary Russell Jr. I don't think he's any more ducked than Deontay Wilder was. Don't think he's any more ducked. He's just a duck fighter. You know what I mean? Because he falls into that, you know, how you go from Barrios to Tank? What's the difference? When you go from Barrios to Raleigh, what's the difference? My man, Robert Jamil said, I've got it covered. Spence, Tank, Benavidez. Yeah, those are good ass fighters. It's not a bad list. I'll tell you this. I think David Benavidez is probably the best at 168. And I know Canelo ain't fighting him. You know that ain't happening. You know what I mean? He's not fighting Mexicans no more. And for the sake of it, he's gonna put he's gonna put Benavidez over there. Benavidez is a really, really solid fighter, man. It's a really solid fighter. Marco Warren said Gary was on Leo Santa Cruz's father and still couldn't get Leo to fight him. Nope, not gonna happen. Yeah, and Demetrius Andrade is a pretty duck fighter too. Did Floyd Mayweather use lidocaine during his fights? Maybe same thing as using PEDs since it gives you an advantage. I don't know if he was using lidocaine or not during his fights. No idea, but I know Oscar Valdez tested positive for something. Okay? Floyd Mayweather Jr. is what Floyd Mayweather Jr. is. I don't know. I've heard it. And that's all I have is heard it. Did I miss one? Oh, yeah, no, that's Robert. Thank you. Much love in that super chat, man. Nah, he's never going to fight him, man. No chance, man. Say, Wayne Dash said, Gary Rolson needs to move to 135 quick. That's where the fights are. Ain't nobody in 135 fighting each other. That's where there's a lot of fighters, but none of them fighting each other. You got Lomachenko, you got Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia. None of them are fighting. None of them are fighting each other at that weight class. There's a lot of names. But there's not a lot of fights popping off. The only place where the fighters are really fighting each other is welterweight and 154. Those are the only places where you got to see, like, welterweight for the most part, you've gotten to see everybody fight each other. There's only really one fight hanging out. Only one fight hanging out, and that's one fighter hanging outside of that, which is Terrence Crawford. That's the only ones. But other than Terrence Crawford, you've gotten all the fights that you could get at 147. They've all fought. You know, some combination of each other. 154, they cleared that whole division. They slugged that whole division out. And Jermell, and they had a draw on the last one. That was the last one to sew up that whole division. And if they run it back, you'll get that whole division sewed up. You know what I mean? That's the only two divisions that everybody's fighting. Other than that, and cruiserweight during that tournament with Alexander Usyk and the rest of those guys, everybody else playing a bunch of games, man. Eddie Hearn is the worst thing to happen to heavyweight boxing, period. Eddie Hearn just screwed that whole thing up. We could have had undisputed at heavyweight, man. That was a fight that was right there, easy to make, and he didn't want to make it. Threw a bunch of nonsense out there about Deontay Wilder being the one that's ducking and just totally screwed that pooch. You know what I mean? Yeah, they trying to cover up the fact that Oscar Valdez first of all, you're trying to cover up the fact that Oscar Valdez is a steroid cheat and Canelo Alvarez is a steroid cheat by dumping him in there with all the Mexicans. Not all the Mexican fighters are steroid cheats, okay? They're not, okay? Oscar Valdez is, and Canelo Alvarez is, okay? Saying that you're not attacking all of Mexico by saying that Canelo Alvarez and Oscar Valdez are drug cheats, okay? You're not. Just like you're not attacking all of Black America by saying that all of black people by saying that, what's that dude's that Big Baby Miller and John Pascal are drug cheats. John Pascal got caught. Ain't nobody coming to his defense. Okay. Once Big Baby Miller got caught, nobody's coming to his defense. That's it. Right. But Canelo, you guys trying to hide Canelo from responsibility. Man, Channel 3, much love in that super chat, man. He said, big fan, Fannon. I'm not saying Wilder would have lost to the Klitschko's, but he ducked him and never openly called him out after any of his fights. I don't think that he ducked him, man. I don't think that he ducked him. I don't think they wanted to fight him. And they had the same manager at the time, but in Shelly Finkel. But, you know, if he would have had the opportunity to fight him, I think that he would have fought him because they were the money guy, not Wilder. You know what I'm saying? And I never heard if Vladimir Klitschko wanted to fight him and tried to push wanted to fight, he would have fought him. At least that's how I say, man. Said Ron Miller said it's Canelo's clout that's getting Valdez all this special treatment, and it's disgusting. And it is absolutely disgusting. They take it as you're attacking all Mexico when you talk about Canelo. No, they don't. They divert. They don't mean it. No, that's how they count. That's how they come back at you by acting like you're attacking all of Mexico. You know, like any Mexican that you name, you're going to think he's a drug cheat. You know what I'm saying? Get out of here. I never said I don't do anything but praise little what's that little dude's name, man? Little Ray, King Ray what's it, Ray Martinez? Ray Martinez. That's my guy right there. Floyd beats, hey man, maybe. Look, man, Floyd is not going to call out Errol Spence Jr. because he doesn't want to lose. Dude, if Floyd Mayweather Jr. could beat the top boxers right now and he really believed he could, he would do it. He would do it. Just like a lot of these guys would. If they really believed that they were top-notch heavyweights, they would fight. They're not too far gone. They just know that they're retired for a reason. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is this dude voted for Larry Elder. Just God, first of all, I don't even pay attention to Larry Elder. I see people throwing stuff at Larry Elder. I don't know what that is. I thought Larry Elder was somebody that people are calling a coon. If you're calling me one, so what? I don't care what you think. Okay? Call me one. Please. You know what I'm saying? Call me one. You know what I mean? Like, I can have one group of people calling me a racist for black people. Then I have black people calling me a coon. Whatever, man. You guys just calling names. You just an individual spitting some shit out your mouth. And that's all that matters to me. You know, there's no grand flow of millions of people standing behind you in support of you. You're just one person. You're just one person popping off the lips in a chat calling me names. And it doesn't really bother me. God bless you. And I hope that you have a great day. You know what I mean? God bless you. And I hope all your wildest dreams come true. I hope that Canelo Alvarez sends you some autographed underwear and whatever the fuck you want from him. And you go away from me. You know what I mean? Larry Elder, a.k.a. Uncle Ruckus. Yeah, man. And, you know, I don't deal with coons. I love black people, man, and will defend black people. But I will defend black people from black people. And I will always, and I'm myself. There is no, this is what black people are. There's millions and millions and millions of individual black people, and we've got different personalities, and we have different views of life, come from different angles and all kind of stuff. So, you know, you can skip with all that, man. You know, you can skip me. King Judah said, you can't possibly be both. Dude, depending on who it is, I used to get, man, when I first started my channel, I used to get this light-skinned black thing. Like the darker you are, that means you're more, the darker you are is the more black you are. You get that. You know what I'm saying? Like the more inner city you are, the more black you are. And that's just not true, man. You are who you are, and you are a black person. And so I'm going to be who I am, you know, and you're not going to ever tell me that you're more black than me just because you're darker than me, right? Or be somebody that is going to, some one-off dude calling me a racist because you don't like the fact that I said Oscar Valdez cheated and Canelo Alvarez is a steroid cheat. That's just you. You know what I'm saying? Bumping off at the lips, not being very good at, you're not having a very solid point, man. Wendell Jackson said, hey, Fannon, when you keep it 100 on everything, you get heat from all ethnicities. You do. You absolutely do. I got a ton of heat from every corner. Trust me. I've gotten heat from every corner you can conceive at one point in time or another, man. But it's just what it is, man. I'm just myself, you know? Ugas Spencer is Spencer's 60-40. Yeah, I would say that. I don't think Ugas got nothing for Errol. Says same skin color or shade BS with every race, Fannon. Thank you. Yeah, you know, exactly. It's like the shades of it. You know, Like, I heard somebody say something about, and I never mention guys' names, okay? But I'll do this one time. I was listening to somebody talk bad about Boxing Ego because Boxing Ego was race baiting, but he didn't look black enough. And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, in what planet doesn't Boxing Ego look black? I can't get that for nothing. Second of all, how you gonna do him like that, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm darker than he is, so I got more skin in the game, literally, you know? No, man, you don't, okay? Because I am I'm 100 times darker than white people are, okay? I know that. You know what I'm saying? I stand next to a white guy, I look dark, okay? That's what that is. B. Spittin said, they hate your honesty, Fannon. Keep up the great content, brother. Thank you. I will, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. Ruben Ramirez said, how highly do you rate Josh Taylor? Would he give Terrence Crawford a tough fight? Yeah, I think it'd be a good fight. I think Josh Taylor's a very solid fighter, and he's proved himself. Josh Taylor is actually, unlike certain other people who shall remain nameless, Josh Taylor's proven that he's a good fighter by getting past Regis Prograis and Jose Ramirez. Those are two top-notch guys at 140 pounds that he beat to get that belt. To get undisputed, that was not given to him. So yeah, I think he's a legitimate fighter, and I think he's a good fight for Terrence Crawford. And Terrence Crawford better make sure that he's on his P's and Q's with Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor ain't no fake, man. Josh Taylor can fight, you know? Josh Taylor's a jerk, and I have to say that every time because of some crap he said about me, not knowing who I was, you know, just said some ridiculousness. But other than that, you know, the guy can really fight, you know? Just One said, the only place you'd be considered light-skinned is South Sudan. That's not true at all. I'm considered light-skinned most places there's black people. Most throughout my life, I've always have been. Most places where there are black people, that's what I am. Because most black people are darker than me. But most people on the earth, though, I suspect are around my color, though. Most people. It's probably the most average skin color that you can have all through the world. Yeah, Taylor can fight, man. Who you got? Josh Taylor or Teofimo Lopez at 140? Josh Taylor. Man, that dude need to come on and fight Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? He need to go ahead and fight. Damon Bennett said, definitely light skinned. You know what's funny? It depends on who. It depends. It really does depend on who you are. But I'm about, you know, but everywhere there's ever been black people, that's what I was informed of by every group of black people that I've ever been around, other than some Creole folk in Louisiana, at which point in time I became brown skinned. Not dark skinned, but brown skinned. But it is what it is. I've got the same color as a whole lot of people, man. Ain't nothing special. Ain't nothing bad about it. Ain't nothing good about it. None of that. What's wrong with being light skinned? Nothing. I don't mean, it doesn't make a difference to me. You know, I can't tell you, but I know there's some real dark skinned people that got a lot of shit for being dark skinned. I know that. You know what I mean? That's what I'll tell you that. I don't know what's so great. I don't think there's anything exceptionally great about being any color versus the other one, but I know that in all honesty, there's some very, very dark people that get a lot of shit for being very dark skinned. You know what I mean? They get a lot of crap for that. Get called all kind of stuff by black people too. By black people. You know? Damon Bennett said in an interview Friday, Teo said he's not going to give Lomachenko a rematch. Yeah, that's Teofimo Lopez for you. But that's, you know, I guess we can look forward to him fighting Tommy Fury. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that these real boxers are going to start doing this nonsense. Be like, hey, man, why don't I just become a YouTube celeb? You know what I mean? He said, melanin is great. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Crawford will struggle against any great fighter. He's not used to fighting them. He is going to be a step up, man. Hey, they go Brandon Griner said, Louisiana signing in. You are brown skin. Exactly. See? You know what I'm talking about? Yep, I got to Louisiana. I left Chicago light skinned, and I got to Louisiana, and I was brown skinned. And it's whatever, man. It don't make a difference. I've been handsome everywhere I've gone. So whatever. Yeah, but they called me handsome wherever it was. So as long as that's the case, I was cool. Didn't make a difference to me. But honestly, on the real low, they talk about real dark-skinned people, talk about them bad, really, really bad. And they definitely have from time to time get it rough. That I know for sure. King Judah said, Louisiana, he also Fannon, you are brown skin. We have high yellows down here called Creoles. Absolutely. Very familiar. Very familiar with that culture. Absolutely, positively. Yeah, but those are the light-skinned black people. Those are light-skinned black people. Very, very fair skin, very, very light-skinned black people down there. All kind of stuff, you know? But look, man, I'm going to get up out of here, man. Just say thank you guys for coming. We'll be back tomorrow. Much love to everybody in the chat, everybody in the super chat. But I'm about to bounce. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.